Hi, my name is Grant Houks, and I'm the travel coordinator here at St. Peter's Fly Shop. We have a very special guest with us here tonight, Connor Murphy. He's going to be here talking to us tonight about Duncan Camp Lodge, one of our favorite destinations. Why did we pick Connor to talk about Duncan Camp? Well, it was pretty simple. Connor's not only worked at the fly shop for multiple years, but spent many seasons guiding at Duncan Camp. So if there was someone who had firsthand experience, can tell you all about it, and someone with charisma and excitement about fly fishing, Connor's the man. We can talk about a lot of things when it comes to the Kanektok River and Duncan Camp, and I guess even before I go there, Alaska in general. I'll start with, our hosted trip there is in August this year. It's August 1st through 8th, which we've picked to be one of the prime weeks to visit Duncan Camp, hands down.
Absolutely.
And before we get into Duncan Camp specifically, or even kind of a transition into it, why would folks want to go to Alaska to fly fish in the first place?
That's a great question. Alaska to me is the last best American frontier. It is the place where you can go and see untracked wilderness for as far as the eye can see. Your flight into Quinhagak from Bethel, you don't see a single human structure or soul for an hour-long flight. It's tundra and mountains and rivers the entire way. You can actually see caribou running across the tundra. You can see grizzly bears fishing in the river. It's, for someone like me who wants to try and see nature in its most virgin and pure form, there's no place like Alaska. And that's anywhere in Alaska to me, but the Kanektok and the Togiak National Wildlife Refuge region, or I guess the greater Kuskokwim Delta region, specifically. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a chance to visit there as well, and of the places I've been in the world, there are not many places like Alaska. And then if we get a little more specific and we start talking about the region and the Kanektok River and specifically, which why don't we go ahead and talk about that? I mean, what's so special about not just Alaska, but bringing it down to a much micro level, the Kanektok River, which is where Duncan Camp is on.
Totally. At the camp, you have logbooks that you fill out for the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. And you can either label the river as the Kanektok or you can label it as the Chosen. Back when the Duncans were actually making these camps, their father owned a plane, and they flew the entirety of Alaska, dropping off at rivers they thought looked interesting to see. The Kanektok from the air looks different from every other river in the region. Most of the rivers around it are, quite frankly, a different color. They're kind of brown and turbid, different color. The Kanektok is a beautiful, wonderful green. It's got a sinuosity like you can't imagine. There's a reason that they dropped a plane there and said to themselves, this is the river where we're going to start our camp.
The Chosen River, without a doubt.
The Chosen.
Yeah. Well, once you visit there, it's pretty apparent that it's the Chosen River. I mean,
there's no river like it. If you go to me, I'm extremely biased. I'm the most biased guy, at least at this table, in the room probably. But as far as the Kuskokwim Delta area, the Kuskokwim River itself is the northernmost boundary for rainbow trout in North America. And the Kanektok is really the final river, more or less, where you get to see everything. All 5 species of Pacific salmon, grayling, dollies, everything. If you go north of the Cusco, then you get to see wonderful stuff, but it's mainly grayling and dollies and char. You don't see rainbows anymore. If you go even north of the Kanektok, you don't see sockeyes like you do in the Kanektok because of the absence of lakes. The Kanektok flows out of Kagadi and Pagadi Lake, and you've got, I think, at least 5 different life histories of sockeyes that occupy this river. We've all heard of Lake Iliamna and the Iliamna fisheries.
Sure.
Part of what makes Iliamna so spectacular is the incredible profusion of sockeyes. The Kanektok is that in a microcosm. So it's not just a sexy green river that spins cool. It has a biomass thing going on that functions everywhere. If you want to talk about, again, the size of the kings, the size of the rainbows, the size of the dollies, every single fish that's there, in my experience, again biased, is extremely high quality.
Yeah.
I don't care what species you're chasing.
You talk about a fish eat fish world, and I think the Kanektok is the perfect example of that, is what you're saying. I mean, we obviously all enjoy sockeye to eat, and so does everything else. And when you've got a prolific run of fish like that, like you said, the biomass, the other fish, I mean, they do eat each other. As they're decomposing, as they're migrating, through the river systems, whether that's the other salmon or really even the rainbow trout. And I think, to be a little bit more specific about it, our trip being the first week of August,
Yep.
What should we expect with our group to be catching during that time frame?
I tell everybody, if you're going to go see the Kanektok, you should go early in the season or you should go late in the season. Just because, again, like when you're going, it was August 1st through the 8th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, man, you have the kings have kind of passed. You have chums that are dying off. It gives you the flesh fly bite. You actually have carcasses the trout are feeding on and eggs in the drift already. You also have pinks have kind of wrapped it up. Sockeye are in and about spawning and doing everything. The trout have got so many different food options. And you as an angler, you can fish for the trout if you'd care to, but again, you've got still viable chums to catch. You've still got sockeyes to catch. You still have the occasional king. Silvers are in at that point in time, and silvers to me are the penultimate fly rod salmon. They're sick.
Yeah.
Like you've had a woggy.
Oh man, topwater eats on salmon just coming up and walloping them. And I mean,
giant
really,
pink. Frickin', it is. If it's a fly fishing experience that you have never had, you must do it. There's a debate with salmon about like why do they eat the fly, or do these fish really eat flies or whatever. Silvers, I don't think they're not eating for food. They eat the fly.
They eat the fly.
They eat the fly.
Yeah.
Without question. And again, early season with rainbows, if you went in early, or I guess mid-June, right? There aren't any eggs in the drift. There's no flesh in the drift. You have sculpins that are around all the time. You have mice that are around all the time, but and hooligans, I guess, or like a smelt that comes up the river. But the amount of forage that is available to the fish of the river by the late part of the season is insane.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I'm extremely biased again, but oh my gosh, I love dollies. And I like when dollies are colored up. And come August, getting to see the most colored up, beautiful char in the world that just glows in your hands like a neon sign, I think is wonderful. And the best reason to go late to me.
They call them clowned out for a reason.
Clowned out, dude.
I remember the first time I visited, like, you want to go to Dollywood? And I was like, Dollywood? What does that mean?
Is that the place in India?
Yeah, and then we got there and I was like, we're in Dollywood. You pretty much nailed it on the head, because the quantity of dollies, and into that like 16 to 22 inch range, or
bigger
even
than
sometimes bigger, the 24, 25. I mean, they get massive, and they
really
get even more colorful sometimes as they get larger. It's a pretty. So I mean, you'll have, like you said, you'll have the sockeyes, you'll have the chums, and you'll have the silvers, and dollies, and then really the best time of year to go fish rainbows, because we mentioned Fish Eat Fish World, and so those rainbows have been feeding on all of the stuff that's already starting to come into the system, whether that's their flesh or their eggs, and they're the fattest and largest that time of year. So, we think again of going to Alaska for salmon, but I mean, to talk about a rainbow fishery, it's a pretty special one. We talked a little bit about what they eat, and I'd have to say for me, one of the things that I was absolutely floored and blown away by after my first visit there was, it was pretty apparent that the Kanektok may potentially be one of the best mouse fisheries in the world, really, for that matter. I mean, they told me about it, and then when I watched fish, hammer destroy mice off the surface. It was very apparent that those fish, the rainbows, rely on mice as one of their largest, sources of food.
It's crazy. It genuinely is insane. I remember standing on the airstrip in Quinhagak with Mike Mercer, talking to him about this. And he said to me, Connor, I've been to Kamchatka 17 times, and I've never had mouse fishing like this before.
Yeah.
We had a guy who worked, I think he was also working for the fly shop. He guided on the Good News for 15 years, the next river to the south of Consequence. And I remember standing there on the airstrip with him after his week. He was going, this is the most insane mouse fishing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's bonkers. There's a really interesting study you can read, or at least a record. I don't know if it's a study, but they sampled, the biologists were going down the river and they sampled rainbow trout, and they cut, I think, 18 voles out of the stomach of a rainbow. It's insane. Yeah. And it's like the mouse fishing is phenomenal from week 1 until we leave in September. It is something you can always, my favorite thing to do, if I could possibly talk a client into it, would be go mouse fishing. There's always a fish ready to eat a mouse. And one other point on rainbows, a little bit aside from the mouse fishing, that needs to be said is Alaska leopard rainbows.
Yeah.
We hear that term a lot.
Yeah.
Totally. And these fish, I'm a brown trout guy. I am. These rainbows are different. And they're different even from an Alaska perspective. You saw this when you were there.
I did.
The cheeks, the stripes, they've got spots in their eyes. They've got, they're the most. Not only do they behave like smallmouth bass, but they are the most beautiful rainbow trout that I've ever laid hands on. They're pretty big too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There's other places in Alaska you can catch bigger rainbows, but I defy you to find me a place in Alaska where you can actually catch a more beautiful rainbow, and to do it on a mouse fly too. I mean, the mouse adds 8 inches.
Yeah, right. Anything,
so,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So it's a place that any serious trout fisherman. I stand by this without question. The Kanektok to me is one of the best salmonid fisheries on the planet. Period. I would put it up against anywhere on Earth.
I can agree with that completely.
The diversity of fish, the quality of the fish, the ecotones that you see throughout the system. There is, again, even within Alaska. There was a book that we had on the coffee table, and I don't know, whatever. Like maybe this guy was just fluffing up my boss or whatever. But I remember it was written. It was called Alaska's Best Fly Fishing, and in that book, the inscription in the beginning of the book from the author was, "To the best fishing guides in Alaska, on the best river in Alaska." There's a reason why people like Lefty Cree and Jim Teeney went there for 3 or 4 weeks of summer in a row forever. It is It's the chosen. It's anomalously good in a state that is known for having the best fishing in the country.
And being a migratory fishery, it's a shuffle of the deck every day, right? And every year you go, and every week, and you can get different experience and different things. And I mean, we haven't even gone into the depth of what the whole Kanektok River is. You started talking about it from the top to the bottom a little bit, but I mean, there's a 100-mile wilderness float you can do, and which creates its own special experience. They've got the Duncans have an upper base camp, and they've also got a lower base camp, and,
right.
and we're at the lower base camp, and we've selected that specifically because it's got the largest number of salmon down there.
Totally.
It also typically has the largest rainbows as well because
That's
of the fact the salmon are down there.
Everything ends up down there.
And you can do still a diversity of fishing. You think about a big river down low, but the Kanektok has braids and channels, and I remember one of the first times I went there, the guide's like, "Hey, you want to go fish, over here?" And like a minute later, I was like, "Are we on a different river?" Like we hiked through bushes, and all of a sudden came to what was just a braid of the river.
You're in a small stream.
Yeah, but then that was
big
when,
fish.
Oh man, and then the sight fishing for rainbows in that was like
the side channels.
Side channel.
Again, to your point, there's 15 rivers within the river. Like from the lower base camp to the ocean is I think 18 miles.
Yeah,
and I barely scratched the surface during my time there.
Lobo, and they call it fishing to the big rainbows down low. But it really is cool. I mean, we go on and on. I mean,
I realize we're here to make a video about this.
Yeah.
If we were sitting down over a coffee or a beer somewhere, and I was trying to say to you, if you have the time and the financial liquidity to do this trip, you would be remiss not to.
Or in find the time opinion. And the financial liquidity.
Whatever you got to do.
Happen,
take out a loan. Well, I think a medical emergency, but I think about the river every day. I haven't taken this necklace off since the day I stopped guiding. I have a piece of the river with me all the time.
That's really cool.
I will never, I think about that river every single day.
It's special.
Every single day.
Well, we've hit on some really good points here, and definitely covered the fishing. I mean, I think you got my blood boiling about the fishing. I'm ready to go back.
Feel free to send an email or give us a phone call, and we can talk ad nauseum.
And I didn't mention this, but I am hosting the trip, so I'm lucky enough that I am going to get to go back this year. And looking forward, we've got a couple of really great folks already on the trip, and looking to fill a few more spots. And
you have openings still.
Yeah, so I mean, we'd love to have you join us and join the group for the week. But moving away from the fishing just a little bit, because you consider, again, we can talk about fishing all night long. We are visiting Duncan Camp, and so what is it about the Duncans in the Duncan Camp who have been over there for over 30 years and multi-generation that makes their outfit so spectacular and separate from other operations in Alaska?
Well, great question. 100%. The Duncan Camp, and the technical name of the outfit is Dave Duncan Sons. So Dave Duncan was the patriarch of the family, and he had, I believe, 5 sons, and those sons have had sons, and actually those sons have now had sons, so that my friend Cutler, who I guided with, just had a little baby last week. There are very, very few camps in Alaska where you can go fish and have the wisdom of 4 generations of guides. Truly, you can speak to that a little bit, but it's highly anomalous.
Yeah,
most outfits eventually people get old, they want to get out of it, they sell, some new people run, they keep the name, but it's not the family.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started guiding there, I was using the term client, And I got corrected. It's like, they're not clients. These are our guests. Again, my boss at the time, I had two bosses, Brad and John Duncan, two of the Dave Duncan's sons. And I remember Brad saying to me, the fishing's whatever. The fishing on this river takes care of itself. It's everything else that we do to make you feel at home and comfortable. I think most people who visited the Duncan camps would agree that even though, again, this is not a brick and mortar cedar lodge with a masseuse on staff and a sushi chef, this is a fishing camp. You're there to fish.
Yeah.
But when you get off the river, you are welcomed with an extremely hearty meal, a warm tent, and an even warmer set of personalities and stories that are quite frankly second to none.
Yeah.
I haven't been back. The last time I was on the Kanektok, I went for a float trip, which was a lifetime experience and something I'd always wanted to do. I guided the lower base camp during my career there. Again, I'm biased. I miss my brothers. I really miss, and that's how it is. It's once, I mean, whether you're a guest or you've worked there as an employee, you're part of the family. There's a reason why it is extremely difficult to get a week there, because once people get in, they don't really want to leave.
Yeah.
You keep it going. It's amazing how many people bring their whole families and have done so for 20 years or 30 years.
Well, I'll add a little sugar to the top of that. And, part of the reason why we do have weeks there is that we actually share family with the Duncans. And I'm saying that right here in the sense of Connor, right? And not only Connor, but we've had other people who have worked with the fly shop. Charlie, another one, for example.
Totally.
Once Brad realized the service that we provide, the type of people, passion that St. Peter's,
Totally.
Perpetuates out of the people who work here, he was quick to call and say, "Hey, do you got another guy
You
that I
got
can steal
anybody
from you this summer?" I'm like, summer, man? Like, did you have an opposite season of us at least? So, we're not...
December is great, actually. We got people.
But then you see the maturity and world experience that people get when they get to go work at a place like that. And again, I think in the full circle of just the Duncans and are amazing people. They treat people like family. Their customer service is top. And we, again, share family and some guides with them. So for another reason, the Duncan camp is one we hold close to our operation. So I think you've gotten a chance to really hear some great information from Connor. He's not done. He's got
one last thing. I'll shut up after this, please.
Yeah, please.
For me, I think that one of the coolest things you can do is to get to go to see the lower base camp to witness the boat driving.
Yeah.
There's most outfits in Alaska.
Yeah.
Most outfits in Alaska run jet boats, which is awesome. Easy, no brainer. Sip your coffee, no problems. You could run in that deep of water. The Duncans at the lower base run prop boats, and I didn't know what that meant when I first started working there, but it's a boat with an actual propeller versus a jet unit, and they operate a jack plate to drive through. Everyone who comes to the Duncan lower base camp leaves there saying, that boat driving is nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It is.
To this day, I will say that I think the coolest skill set that I have ever gained was being able to drive a boat for the Duncan lower base camp.
Yeah.
The boat driving alone is worth the visit. The fishing takes care of itself, and if you get to hear a few of Brad and John's stories, it's a lifetime experience.
Top on that. Well, we can sit here again and talk about it all night. We do have another video here on our page, and it actually is Charlie and Connor when they were there guiding in their experience there. And you're going to get to see this video. Click it. You'll want to watch it. It's also on there. It's Connor driving that jet boat and these guys chasing fish with, mice patterns and doing all these things that we could sit here and talk about. But take a look at the video below here and have a see at it. I think you'll really enjoy it. Again, Connor, I want to thank you tonight for being here with us. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you, chat with you, talk about our passion. Our hosted trip to the lower base camp at Duncan is, again, August 1st through 8th. We've got a couple spots. We do visit every year, though, so if for some reason this year doesn't work out, then we'll be back again next year to continue to go to what is, without a doubt, the chosen river and one of the most magnificent places on earth.